Last night I was sitting around a table with a group of friends who are also young moms, and this topic of school comes up because if you have toddlers, if you have young children, even if your kids are in school, this is still a topic that comes up. What are we going to do? Can we send them to a private school? Can we afford that? Well, but public school is really getting bad these days. And what about homeschool, right? It's a hard question that we face. So I want to take a minute to talk about it. There's really three things that I thought of today that are such benefits with homeschool that, if you've not experienced it much, you may not think about it. And so having the experience that I do with the homeschool, I'd like to share those with you. The first one is that we get to own our time and really just own our life. What that means is, as an example, yesterday while everybody's at school, we went to the pool and had the pool to ourselves and really got to enjoy that time as a family. And I kept thinking, this is amazing that we get to do this. It's amazing that just any given day we can just hey, let's load up and go to the pool. Hey, why don't we, go to a park right now? And there's not a Monday through Friday schedule where you have to stick to that schedule and the only free time you have is on the weekends and the evenings. I love the fact that we get to own our time. We get to own our life. That's incredible. If you think about it, people work really hard in life to get to a point of ownership. That day when you finally pay off that mortgage and you own your house. I mean, how incredible does that feel, right? And the day when it's I own my own business now. I don't have to have a boss telling me what to do. These are things that we long for as adults. And so in homeschool, that is a benefit that we get to have, and we also get to teach our children. And I don't think a lot of other parents see it that way. They see it as bondage almost. My other friends around the table, these are the kinds of things I was hearing from them. Things like, I think I would pull out my hair if I were with my kids all day. Or, I'm just not gifted in that. I don't think I have what it takes to homeschool. And I get it. I had all of those same thoughts as well. I hear that a lot from different people that are contemplating what to do for school. And the misconception there is that we think that school system that we all know and say we all grew up in, now all of a sudden we just take that and that comes into our house. So of course it feels overwhelming. Of course every single person would feel like, I'm not capable for this, because you take a 6 to 8 hour day and all these different classes and having to do an hour for every single subject, 6 subjects. That would be overwhelming. But that is wrong. That's a lie. That is not what homeschool looks like at all. Because majority of the school system, because there's so many kids, there's just a lot of managing the classroom and managing the kids that goes on, that really when you sit down one-on-one with your kid, or one on a few, no matter how many kids you have, it's drastically less time consuming than in a classroom setting. If you think about it too, the teachers are teaching to a group, so they have to do it in a certain way. The information that they're getting across has to come out a certain way so that everybody in the class hears it, everybody understands it. There's a lot of disruptions if you think about it. Possibly a lot more questions asked from the kids. Whereas in homeschool, you're sitting down with them for a very small fraction of the time and getting that work accomplished in just an hour or two a day. So imagine that, just doing school for an hour or two, the type of traditional school that we think of, those subjects in school, math, English, science, etc., and getting that all done in an hour or two. Now you've got the rest of the day. So I love that I get to teach them ownership. They get to do the things that they want to do. One daughter really loves bookwork, and so she wants to keep on practicing her handwriting, whereas the other one's like, oh, please, I don't want to do that. So she maybe does art, or we do baking together. We We do art as a family, you know, we do a lot of fun things. We go outside of the house a lot. We get to plan our time, and that is such a valuable thing. The school system is set up as a 8 to 5 job. Truly, if you look at the history of it, it was designed way back in the day because you know what? They didn't used to have schools. Kids would work with their families on their little family farms, but in the industrial age and all that kind of stuff, now all these factories are popping up. They need workers, and they designed the school to train kids how to be good, like, factory workers. Now, if your kid is really aspiring to be like a factory worker, then punching a time clock at school, in a sense, from 8 to 3, whatever, that's going to help them. But majority of kids, you ask them what they want to do, and they have big dreams. They want to be more than just, hey, I work at McDonald's, or, you know, I go to this warehouse and I work really hard at a labor job, and then I go home and I dread it and all that kind of stuff, right? Our kids want more in their life, and as good parents, we want more for them than that too. So the fact that homeschool teaches them how to take ownership and how to create the time the way that they want to, obviously guided by parents, that is such a valuable thing and really a reward for both you as a parent and the kid. The second benefit is that you get to have more fun as a family. This goes along with the first one I was just sharing, but because you have all of this extra time, now you get to do fun things. You know, we work through the summer when it's stupid hot in Oklahoma, and that way when it comes fall, we're not bogged down by a job, right? We get to go and do things and plan our time according to the seasons, according to what's going on. You know, we don't have to plan our vacations around, okay, well, this is Thanksgiving break, fall break, Christmas, whatever. We get to go whenever we want to go. And we have so much more fun as a family. There was a season of time where my oldest daughter and my second daughter was in school. So I understand as well the shipping them off every day. And on top of that, we had to pack lunches. We had to, it was a small school, so we were doing a lot of things like driving them there, picking them up. We live rural, so we had to drive 20 minutes one way to get them. And it was so time consuming, not even talking about the 8 to 3 of them being there. Homeschool allows us to own our time, and we get to have more fun with that time. So the third thing I would like to share with you is that I truly, over these years of doing homeschool, have seen that I have a better relationship with my kids. I can't imagine somebody else raising them. And truly, I'm just going to speak honestly that that's what's happening. They are at a facility with all these teachers and all these different people for the prime hours of the day. And if your kids are in public school, that's a bit of a scary place, because the agenda of the world right now, especially towards small children, is scary. The way that they want to raise these kids up to believe these crazy, I mean just crazy things is idiotic. Let's just call it what it is. It's just incredibly sad, the programming that's going on in the school systems and the agenda for our children, these precious children. We need to guard them against this, and they're being, you know, trained a certain way. And so I can't imagine somebody else other than me training my child for the prime hours of the day, majority of the week. That to me, I sit here and think, how can you send your kids to school after this being a way of life for me for so long? It feels backwards, in my opinion, to send your kids off for 6 to 8 hours a day to be trained by somebody else with who knows what kind of swept under the rug, that they're being taught, little seeds of craziness that they're being taught, and that not being a concern among parents. And I'm thinking, if you're watching this video, it is a concern, it is a big question, and you're looking possibly for another way. And so just from mom to mom or mom to parent right now, I want to encourage you to say, homeschool is not a burden like you think it is. Homeschool is not a stress on you and your family. In fact, it is incredible freedom in your life. You know, in 2020, a lot of families were forced into homeschool because everything was shut down. And yes, there was a big majority of people that went a little crazy probably with that. But I've heard also the stories of the parents that were like, wow, we didn't realize how enjoyable this was going to be. We thought, like, how could we have our kids all day long, and what would we do, and how would we stay sane in that? But they realized that it was not bondage. In fact, it was freedom, and it was a beautiful freedom that they had to flow in life together. So I believe that that brings about a better relationship with your child as well than sending them off the prime hours of the day every single day to be trained by somebody else. Why not, as parents, like, we train our kids? There are so many other benefits to homeschool. That is a very brief list of benefits and rewards. I mean, the list could just keep going on and on. But I wanted to encourage you with those 3 things because it truly is a blessing to be the one that teaches your children. I love the relationship that I see blossoming in my kids. I love hearing the stories of other parents that have taken this journey and seen freedom in their life and their family. So if you're on the fence about homeschool, I would just encourage you to think outside the box, because the box of what we know as school is not the box of homeschool. In fact, the box of homeschool looks like a gift wrapped up in a beautiful package that when you open up that gift, you will be surprised at how much you enjoy receiving the gift of having your children and training your children and teaching them the way that you want to teach them, the way that you see best for your children. I mean, God's given us a responsibility to be the ones in charge of our kids. I hope that this has encouraged you today. Be blessed in your school journey with your kids.